If you thought the last month was chilly, you were absolutely right. We had the coolest July here in San Diego that we've seen since 1916. With the extended June gloom hanging on, sometimes it can bring out the doom in you. From Alvarado Hospital, psychiatrist Dr. Heywood Zeidman tells us how sometimes the weather can affect our moods. Thanks so much for coming on today.
Thank you.
It is more prevalent, of course, in the Pacific Northwest and some other parts of the country, which really stay gloomy consistently. But I mean, we had our fair share last month.
Yes, we did. It was, as you said, a cold month, coldest month since 1916.
Absolutely cold. And I know a lot of times folks, may say, oh, the weather kind of bums me out. But for some people, it goes a step more than that.
Yes, it does. There is a condition called, in medicine we love to use big fancy terms, called seasonal affective disorder. Affective means mood, and it means that their mood changes. Some people used to call it the winter gloom. But here we call it, but in medicine, it's seasonal affective disorder.
And probably not a coincidence that the acronym is SAD, because a lot of people get sad, feel like they can't shake the blues. What are some of the signs that we can look for here if that really persists?
Some people get loss of energy, fatigue. They sleep more. They get loss of motivation. They get increased appetite, and they gain weight. They get less social. They get more irritable. So there's a whole pattern of depressive kinds of things that people go through.
Now, I know that you said that you work closer to the East County. You're in La Mesa, so it's been relatively sunny there, not quite as hot. But for some of your colleagues, you were saying that have practices more along the coast. What have you been noticing lately with theirs?
That's true. People, a friend of mine in La Jolla, is a psychiatrist in La Jolla, talked about the fact that people have been coming in and complaining about the gloom that has continued. Whereas in my area, people are saying, gee, it's not so hot as it used to be. Santee's not 100
Yeah, but
today.
Air conditioning bills aren't skyrocketing.
Right.
Well, let's talk about if the weather is affecting your mood to more than just I'm a bummed out kind of a degree, and it's really becoming a problem. First of all, when is it a good time to go in and see if you're needing some professional help?
I think if you feel the difference, if your family feels the difference, if they say something, probably the sooner the better.
And going in, obviously you're going to do a thorough exam and you're going to, talk to them and find out, what's going on in their emotional, mental well-being and everything. What are some of the courses of treatment that you could give for seasonal affective disorder?
Very good question, because there are several possibilities. The first and the simplest is simply to go out in the sun. Even on a cloudy day, if you go out in the morning, spend a half an hour, you're getting about 10 times the amount of light that you'll get in an ordinary room. Then there are bright lights. There are special lights that people shine on their heads and allow you to get the kind of light that you need through your eyes to have the effect. And lastly, there are some medications that have actually been shown to work for seasonal affective disorder.
Let's talk about those light kits first of all, because I'm sure they're not just sold at every store here in San Diego, but if that was something you would recommend for someone, where are those available?
Well, they are available. There are online places that have them. There are reports I get every day, telling me, oh, you can buy them at our place. But the truth of it is, in San Diego, we don't use them very much. I don't know where you would actually buy one in San Diego, but you could get it online. There are certain magazines that sell it.
Magic of the internet. And as far as medications, obviously you have to get a thorough exam and a consultation. But what are some of the medicines that seem to really help people get out of the seasonal slump?
Well, the antidepressants seem to work. One particular antidepressant called Wellbutrin, or bupropion, which is now generic, has actually been shown and been approved by the Food and Drug Administration to be effective for seasonal affective disorder. My guess is the others probably work too, but that one has done the research to prove that it works.
Now, one thing, we were chatting before the segment, and I just wondered, not that we're endorsing it, but tanning, would that help lift somebody out of a seasonal slump?
The answer is yes and no. Yes, it is true that if you expose people to ultraviolet lights, there was a study where they took 14 people, put them in ultraviolet light, and 12 of them knew that it was the real light, as opposed to the other group that was on a placebo, wasn't ultraviolet light, and they couldn't tell. So yes, it does seem to have some effect. However, there are problems with tanning, greater risk of cancer. Skin cancer is, in fact, the fastest growing cancer in the United States today.
All right, so not a solution, but
fastest growing in terms of numbers, not in terms of the speed it grows.
Getting into the natural sunlight is a great suggestion, and if folks are dealing with this or any other kind of issue, of course, Alvarado Hospital is such an amazing resource right here in our own backyard. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Good to have you on.